well with a particular frequency. Hmm.
I was agreeing with Linda and with Marlene because the first thing I was noticing was that this is only 1% of the people vibrate, but then it said dot, dot, dot.
Yeah, at a particular frequency. And
Is that
because,
what was coming behind that?
yeah,
Medical
because according to activation, we talk about mental equivalence, you draw things to us. That's our teaching. According to mental equivalence, you draw things to you.
Right.
You magnetize
Uh-huh.
according to your frequency, your vibration. We'll call it according to your thought frequencies, your mental frequency, your psychological frequency, your emotional frequency. Because everything is energy, and the body is a system of energy. You know, because the breath is frequency, brain waves are frequency, everything is frequency. Even when we're departing these bodies, they measure your brain waves to understand a few things. So we are first clinically departed before we are not pronounced gone, for example. So everything is frequency, yes.
Yeah, that just sort of, the first couple of minutes, I was like, well, like Linda was saying, everything is frequency. I mean, vibration. I'm vibration. What do you mean? And that's why I wanted to see what the dot, dot, dot was all about.
Yeah, I mean, there's more.
Yeah.
Like this teaching is open at the top, because there's more. There's infinitely more than everything. And so, for example, if a person is vibrating at the level of shame, that's frequency, or fear, that's frequency, or peace, that's frequency. Love is the highest frequency. But so if you look at the map of consciousness by David Hawkins, you can look at it. We may have it one day. It shows according to your state of consciousness is your life experience. You live within that frequency. So you live within the frequency of fear, or the frequency of love, the frequency of shame, or the frequency of what?
Anger, fear, apathy, joy.
Blame, lack, limitation, that's all frequency.
Yeah.
According to your thoughts, that's frequency. To think is frequency. Words are frequencies. If I say love, that's a certain frequency. If I say hate, that's a certain frequency. So when you think that everything is energy.
Right.
In the world of science, in the world of, we'll call it religion, everything is spirit. Same conversation. Intangible, but yet the breath is frequency. When there's no breath, this body is animated by frequency called breath.
The question I'm hearing here is, since everyone is always vibrating, what's with watch this and in 5 minutes you'll start vibrating?
Yeah. And you'll notice something. You will notice something. If you notice something, when you can actually send your energy, your attention, which is energy, to your body, and you can actually shift the energy of your body, because energy is not stationary and it's not stagnant. You can actually. Okay. We'll do an exercise in a moment, where you can go through you can locate any localized energy in your body. You can locate localized energy. Sometimes it's called pain. Sometimes it's called dizziness. It's called by many names, but you can locate that, and you can shift that, because it's just frequency at a particular frequency. Everything is. It's amazing how amazing what we are abiding in these bodies. That's non-physical. So they say God is a frequency. Tune in. For example. Yeah.
Lastly, the other thing I was going to say is, as Eric was talking about, just looking at how the body was changing and watching the body, I was really grateful, because I was just reminded of all the autonomic things that happen in our body every day that we don't even think about. That oxygen and CO2 exchange is happening between the lungs and the heart all the time. You don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to think about it or anything. So just watching that body and the whole vibration of that whole thing was just very reminding of
Exactly.
what we have.
Yeah. We call it self-directed, self-knowing intelligence. This body is infused with self-directed, self-knowing intelligence. Yeah, yeah.
I'm so literal. When I saw the in 5 minutes, your pineal gland is going to vibrate. I was so focused on, like, I was clinging on to that so hard, like, oh, what's going to happen? Is it going to vibrate? I'm like looking for the external instead of being just on the internal, natural experience from seeing those images. So I had to, like, I took myself out and I brought myself back, but it was just a symbolic lesson to just be like, okay, what are you looking for out there? Just check in with what's in here.
Yeah.
And don't worry about all that. But I had to remind myself about 20 times during that short process. But when I did also notice something that really struck me was the image with the eye and the branches connected to it, like the tree. And I just felt so connected, like, oh, okay, part of the tree rooted, the roots is just all connecting. So those are the two things I noticed, Ashe.
Yeah, Ashe.
Sure.
Ashe. And Jean and DeWalker. Jean and DeWalker, can you hear me?
Yes. So for
Yeah.
myself, what I saw for myself after was to consciously be with something for a few minutes. When I did sit in for the other, it was like I was unconsciously there. It was just something on the screen and the music was relaxing. But to consciously be with it, I was able to merge into me, and then something happened in my household and I had to leave. But when I was consciously there, it was no different to me from the inside out. The screen was me. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but to merge consciously into something and to be with it. So that's where I was.
Ashe. Miss Jean?
I kind of had something similar, the emerging sensation. It was like a pulling into a blending or something, oneness, I guess you could call it. But I wanted to close my eyes and just surrender into it. And it's very calming, very soothing, relaxing. And yeah, and the contrast between that and the physical, coming back and being in physical, fully present, took a minute. But I'm here, I'll say.
Ashe. Yeah, you know how we always talk about science says we only use certain percentage of our brain. We don't use our full capacity. Well, because it's not not totally activated. It's there in potential, but what's the activation level becomes a conversation. And so I was noticing at times I was feeling almost drawn in. I was noticing that, and I was being with that. I was being with a sense of being drawn in. I was being with that. I didn't have thought about it, but I was being with that. So there was thinking about something is one thing. Being with it is a different experience. And last week we had all those different words. Well, that's all frequency. The words that we use, the language in which we think, that's all frequency. And so, for example, if you are having an affirmative thought, you think that something's happening. It's not just flat. You think something's taking place. Something is shifting. That's frequency. If you're speaking a prayer, something's happening. That's not flat line. Something's happening. And so last week we had different words. Jean, you've been online, and Jean said one of her words was psyche. Psyche. So because all those words are like tuning, in a way, they're like tuning forks in a way. In a way, they're tuning forks. You tune into, well, what do you tune into? So we talked about between last week and now, speaking from what we call God, rather than speaking to God, speaking from God into God. I believe that's what we talked about last week, is it? So, and then to notice the experience of that, because that's because that experience is a different experience than looking outside of yourself. That's a different experience. So, did you actually notice when you were speaking from what you are as God? Are you speaking from a place where what you are and what you call God begins and ends? Because if I have to go to God, then I'm saying, okay, here's where here's where I end and here's where God begins. So let me go to this beginningless, endless presence that I call God. But is that what I am? It's what I am, this beginningless, endless, indefinable something. So just the experience of that. This is, by the way, this is just a conversation. There's no answers here. This is a conversation to see what comes out of the conversation.
Let me
So-
jump in, if I may,
Please,
Mike.
please.
Still on the pineal or pineal gland.
good.
What it took me to is just a little bit that we actually know about that piece of anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do know is that I know that it's, of all of the glands that we have in our body, it's the one that medicine knows the least about.
Exactly.
I do know a few things, or what is known. Matter of fact, my father was a medical doctor, and when I got into, chakras and this and that, right? And I said, well, what is the pineal gland or pineal gland? And this is someone who went to medical school in the 1970s, and he said, it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He said, it's brain sand.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing. And that was their understanding of it. But even that, I took that brain sand, and I said, well, why do you call it sand? So it is shaped somewhat like a pine cone, which is why it has that name. And even in ancient drawings and carvings and stuff, the pine cone is very much a symbol of wisdom, connection with the divine, beauty, etc. But so the doctors didn't know much about it, but even to call it sand, that sand is basically crystals. Glass is made from sand. Sand is crystals. So, and it does, it transduces light.
Mm-hmm.
So it can, and that's why it's actually called, that's where the term third eye comes from. It is like an eye. It has lenses and receptors. Then the question came, why would something inside of your skull like that be able to absorb light and turn it into other types of energy? But as we were talking last week, there are many forms of light that, an X-ray, for example, is light that does go through your skull. And so that gland picks up, and it is, as I understand it, essentially that connection between what we know of as the inside of you and the outside of you, which really is one thing. Obviously, we're all kind of just in this cosmic, stew together as one. But the pineal gland plays a large role in seeing the me, the this and that.
Yeah,
of everything.
yeah, I call it the eye of God because like the science cannot pin that down and measure and quantify it. So they say it's sand. Because if science can't pin something down and measure it, okay, then they don't understand that it's anything. Because it's all science, science is mostly mathematical, like, how your physical exam is all the mathematics. And so we look at it that way. There are some things that that is knowable even though it isn't known. It is knowable even though it isn't known. So we have to grant that I don't know everything, and yet everything is knowable within the infinity of what I call the mind of God, for example. And so that's where faith comes in. We have faith and we have trust because we say, oh, well, I don't know, I don't understand, but I know it's possible. I know it's going to be okay. I know that. So that's where the whole faith and trust and stuff comes in. Medicine and science, they don't go on faith and trust. They go on what they can prove. Okay, if they can't prove it, then they don't consider it science and medicine, and they don't get agreement in their in medical.
Here's a
community.
tie-in for the conversation. What is the connection between faith and imagination? So, yeah, I know when you're talking third eye, you're talking vision, visualization, et cetera, right? Which is a lot to do with imagination. And now you're saying that we're talking about faith, which is knowing.
I think faith has to do with your trust in something, like the unknown. I think your trust in something that's unknown. And I think imagination is, I like this guy Neville Goddard who says the unlimited power of imagination. And so we call it maybe another word for God, because you're seeing beyond what you can see. You're seeing beyond what you can see. You call it in my mind's eye. In my mind's eye,
Yeah.
I'm seeing. So my mind's eye is not the same as my physical, my vortex, my visual eye. But in my mind's eye, I see. My mind's eye, I feel. In my mind's eye, it's real. So it becomes real. I think faith, to be very mindful about it, because sometimes it has to do with hoping and wishing and dreaming and trusting. But I think imagination is a little step beyond. I think so, because you can feel faith, but you're still, faith to me is sometimes has you waiting, have you already, if you've already accepted something, you already know something, then what is faith? If I consider I know, like I know I'm sitting in this chair with these shoes on, so I don't have faith about that. I'm not even imagining that. But I think imagination is one thing, I think faith is another, and maybe it's a fine line distinction, maybe not much at all, but I see faith as I see imagination as unlimited. So if I have unwavering faith, if I qualify that faith, if I have unwavering faith, if I don't know not that which I have faith in, then that's a whole other thing. That's a knowing. I don't have to have faith in, if I'm knowing in the knowing realm of consciousness, where does faith come in? I'm not sure. I think faith comes in if I'm not truly certain about something. I think faith comes in. But once I make a decision about something, it's equivalent to the God speaking, the word of God. Or the word of God says, let us make man in our image after our likeness. But God said, let there be light. God, I don't think imagination, I don't think faith comes into play. It's just just speaking it forth. I'm speaking something forth. Like when I say, even while my body is going through its time-born touches, I am well and I'm complete.
That's
So,
faith.
No, that's a declaration. That's not faith,
Right.
that's a knowing. If I say I'm well, I don't know not that. And I really don't know not that. I don't know not that. I'm not trusting about that. That's a knowing. And nothing can take that away from me. I had that argument with my son when I go, no, boy. And he's not a boy, he's here in senior church. No, I'm good, I'm well.
But I mean, I'm really not seeing the difference between, I think we have a definition, like a lot of things, we have a definition of faith that is somewhat south of a real knowing and a speaking your word that you're talking about,
Because to me,
perhaps.
my word is creation activity. If
Right.
my word is creation, my word is creation. It's in the beginning was the word was God, was with God and made so. So in my word, I'm speaking, it's creation activity. I don't
Yeah.
think faith is faith creation activity?
It is. Yeah, it is.
Okay, so let me listen to that a little bit deeper then.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it is. Well, Jesus said, if you have faith of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, be moved. Or if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can say to this disease, you don't really exist in my body, and it ceases to be. Or anything else, just about. If you have, but the condition on that scripture anyway, is if you have faith. So that mustard seed, and it only takes just the slightest microscopic speck of true knowing. And I think that I understand that that's what faith actually is. Whereas we have seen it as kind of like, Lord, I hope, and Lord, will you please come through for me? Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but it'll be all right, Lord. But that's not the same as knowing.
But is there any waiting to see if I have faith in my, does waiting to see, does faith include waiting to see? Is there any waiting in faith?
Yeah, there can be only in that, but then what are you really waiting for?
That's what I'm
You're
saying.
waiting for a third dimensional manifestation.
Yeah, but
but you see it though, it's done.
Yeah, but if I'm in knowing,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not waiting for anything in any dimension.
Right.
And knowing, it's all dimensions
Yeah.
in knowing. Because to me, in knowing, it's like, because I don't think there was like God knowing something. I think God was in creation of everything by the word. So by my
Where you say God, there's no knowing?
but no, by my word. My word is the knowing.
Yeah.
I'm speaking when I say
Yeah.
any word yeah, that's my knowing. The words I'm using, that's my knowing. It's not my faith, it's not my hope. My words are my knowing. So how absolute is my word on all levels, on the conscious and subconscious level? Because the subconscious level, sometimes you function over, sometimes you have faith, but you function over some underlying doubt maybe.
That's not, well, okay. No, true. And I don't know if that's faith.
Yeah, it's not, but people think it is.
Right, but I'm saying, yeah, I think I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
Faith has to be, I think and these are just words. What you're calling knowing, I like that. That's important. That's central. I would say that is what true faith is. If it talks about faith to move mountains, or if God says, let there be light, and then stars appear, that is knowing.
Yeah, and according to how I'm reading that Genesis, I looked at it the other day, it's like God created creepy crawly things, the animals, the plants, all God, and then finally God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. So to me, then this whole clay idea, this whole form thing, and God breathed the breath of life. So to me, if in fact what I am is the likeness of what I'm called, the Spirit of God, the breath of God, in this body that animates this body, if I'm in the likeness of that, then my word is equivalent to, or no different than, in the beginning when God said, let.
Right. So then who needs faith? What good is faith then in that case?
Well,
What you're saying, what good is
I
faith?
think who needs faith is people who are not certain, people who are innocent, people who if I need faith when I go, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure, I don't know, I'm going to trust, I think that's where faith comes in. But when I'm in my God state and I'm speaking my word, I think that's what it is. I don't think there's not that. I don't think that's not what I'm declaring. I don't think so. I remember when I've had some serious physical stuff, and I just remember years ago, I had a store, I liked myself, my store, and because they had set up a bunch of crazy stuff on the medical side. So I liked myself in my store, and I go, well, no, I'm gonna do I'm gonna stay right here until I know, because what they were saying, no, that wasn't gonna work. I know. And so when I went back they had a whole team of doctors there, and they did X-ray, and then they said, well, maybe it was just an overgrowth of muscle, something. They couldn't figure it out. But I knew that what they said was not the truth. I knew something, and it wasn't faith. I just knew. So sometimes you have to, do you know what you know? And what do you know about what you know? What do you know about what you believe? You believe, what do you know about that?
Elliot.
I haven't said this out loud before, so I don't know how it's going to even come out. But you were talking about the difference between imagination and faith. And I was thinking, about that faith is the substance of the things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I was thinking, well, maybe imagination comes first. You have to see in your mind's eye that you desire. And the faith is the evidence that creates that thing. That's where the faith part comes in. I like what you guys said. They're just words.
Exactly.
It's a whole process that's going on, the whole creation process. But maybe if you don't see it, you won't manifest it. So you have that image first in your imagination of what you want to have of the 800 people coming to the church here every day. And you have the faith to put yourself to work to make it happen. Okay? Faith has to have feet under it, I guess, sometimes, So anyway, like I said, I never said this out loud before, so
Well,
maybe
it's
that
great,
works.
though. It all sounds good to me. So I hear, in the seeing, it is so. In the seeing, it is so. In the seeing, it is done. In the seeing. Like it says, and yeah, well, in the seeing, whatever I'm calling in the seeing, in the seeing, because it says, and God saw, it says, and God saw that it was good.
Well, what is seeing?
So what is seeing? Well, I don't think it has anything to do with looking. I think it's creation activity. Yeah, I think it's creation activity. I think in the seeing is creation activity. I really do. I remember, now this is weird a little bit. At the time it was, not anymore. Before I had my son, I had lost a couple of children. And I went with my mother-in-law, and she used to go to readers. So I was in the back of the church because, I didn't believe in all that stuff. I was sitting back of wherever she was. And so I was talking, and she says, I'm talking to you. And I go, who, me? She said, yes, yes. She said, you're concerned about having a child, but I see a little baby boy on your lap. And so, and I never met her before in my life. I removed myself from the whole thing because it's like, I don't know what this is they're doing here. That was in the early 60s, something like that. And so, sure enough, I went through a whole thing until finally I gave birth. But I had a little boy. Still, my son is 58. I had to have hormone shots the whole 9 months, blah, 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 blah. But I just knew, because I actually, at some point when I was made ready. See, here's the thing. We have to be made ready for some things. You can have faith all you want to, but you have to be made ready for whatever it is you have faith in. So when you're made ready, I think maybe that's even beyond imagination or faith, when you are made ready. When I was made ready, whatever it took for me to maintain that pregnancy, every step, month by month, it was done. I was made ready. There was nothing about anything that was opposite, contrary to, I'm having a son. So, so I painted the room blue and everything else. There's nothing about that. I'm saying that I think there's this thing called, when I'm in the absolute state of awareness, when I'm in the absolute state, I think that's the equivalent to God in me, what I call a power in me at work. I think so. And I think sometimes we have considerations about things. We have considerations. So I think it's very wise to consider my considerations, and then let me get real with myself. How real is this, what I'm speaking and thinking? How real is it? And it has to be 100,000% real, or it's nothing. It has to be real, or it's nothing but a process. But when it's real, it's a creation in motion. It's something that's unfolding, something's happening, something's at work.
Would you say that anytime someone, because who hasn't said, it'd be nice if this mold goes away. It'd be nice if there'd be a check in the mail when I check the mailbox. It'd be nice if.
See, that's
and Hold
talking.
on.
Okay, but that's talking. I'm gonna stop talking too.
No, you're not. Right. So yeah, talking versus speaking. I got it. What I'm saying, what I'm asking, what I'm throwing out is some things happen. You said the seeing, the knowing, the seeing, not the looking, but seeing, the knowing is what brings it about. Many things are brought about without seeing or knowing that it's coming. Or is it knowing on a subconscious level, but literally many things manifest, news, events in our own lives, that there was no seeing, there was no knowing, but yet here they are. And then some things happen through a clear vision knowing, and then of course it happens.
See, I think that I hold all knowing to be true. I hold all knowing to be actual.
okay.
Oh, somebody want to share?
Yeah, D.
Okay, go ahead. I need to put this over here so we can see more.
So there's a quote, and I never thought I would ever use this quote. I collect
Can you be a
quotes.
little louder? Hey, Eric, can you help Dee be a little louder? Because
Let me see
I'm
if
not
I can.
hearing her
Oh, the
altogether.
volume on the TV, maybe?
I don't know.
Let me try it this one. Is this better? Is this better?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. So I collect quotes, and I thought I'd never have to use this quote. But there's a knowing that you can't even describe. But this quote says, knowing is based on our experience of something, and knowing something, we do not think or speculate about it. We perceive it so deeply within ourselves as truth that we don't have to discuss it.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a knowing that lives within us, and how can I put it? I understand what Claire is saying about the knowing. I'm trying to figure out how to describe it. It's there are some things that you know, but there are some things that you know and you know not where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what is it to have faith or trust in the knowing? That's where faith comes in. We can analytically talk about it, we can take it apart, but there's something when we know
Mm-hmm.
that we don't even discuss. We're in action. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's no planning to it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
just like when the lady that told Clara about her son, she knew. And she didn't know Clara from Adam. And there are some people, we call them psychics, mediums, clairvoyants, or whatever we call them these days, that know. And we fear them.
I don't want to
So,
cut you off.
yeah, but I'm going to stop right there anyway.
What makes encouragement important? What makes encouragement, when you encourage someone, what makes it important and what makes it effective? When you look at someone, so this person saw a son, saw it on Dr. Claire, in Dr. Claire, something, right?
She said,
But there was no encouragement.
No, well,
She just
here,
said what she said.
okay, I would say this, that, okay, whether you call it encouragement or not, there was an acknowledgement. So anytime you encourage someone, if someone says, I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get that done, there is a seeing that I have as the encourager of like, yes, you will. And sometimes people just need to hear that. And you say, yes, you will. And they almost go, I will? And you go, yeah, of course you will. After all you've been through, of course you will. You're going to make it, and I'm not going to take no for an answer, and you're going to make it. And then they go, I am going to make it.
You know something? They say that I've been around where they say that to the person, and the person take it on and they do it.
Yeah.
And that same person that called themselves encouraging that person would say on the side, they'll never make it.
But it don't matter. But you put it on them though. You allowed them to see it. It doesn't matter what you think.
So
there is something transcendent to
send it.
everything.
Yeah, okay, I can get that, Claire.
Yeah, I think there's something transcendent to everything. And so it was so interesting because at this time I was probably like maybe 22, something like that, or 23 maybe. But I wasn't even interested in what she was saying, because I was there in my opinion about what the heck is this, because I didn't know about readers and all that kind of thing. I never heard of that in my life. I was a Stones Baptist who understood everything just the opposite of what she was saying. So I took my mother-in-law, because I used to take her, drive her, so I'm sitting there, and I'm not sure. So I didn't feel what she said, because it's like, I didn't have an open listening, I'll put it that way. If I have an open listening, you can encourage me. But if I don't have an open listening, I don't think you can encourage anybody. And so I was there, didn't even think about it again until many years later, and, but because I wasn't even, I wasn't made ready. I think that something transcendent is taking place to our understanding. I think we understand as far as we understand, but I think there's something happening transcendent to our understanding by means of the more of what we are. And so I remember when I did conceive Michael, and I was threatened again to miscarry, and I was have hormone shots every month. It was very painful, by the way. They were stored in castor oil. And so I remember, all I knew was I was having a son. Now that's why all this doctors in your doctor's, the government in your doctor's office is an interesting kind of a issue with me, because after that, I've had a lot of problems with no problem with conceiving, but a problem with going to full term. But I remember when the last time I had a miscarriage with Eric and I was praying so hard. I was believing so hard. and I was having faith so deep that I just knew. In the meantime, I was threatening to miscarry. I ended up in the hospital, and I was in pain for about 3 days in agony. So, but see, I didn't have a knowing. I was believing in something, but I wasn't knowing that something. What I was believing in was right beneath the knowing. So I'm saying that I think there's, whatever you want to call it, there is something transcendent to everything, to any word we can use. I think there is something transcendent to that. What'd you say? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's something transcendent to everything. And like someone once said, and I put it in memory, the very best of what we're talking about is not speakable, nor is it knowable. The second best is misunderstood. And the third best is a conversation that we find ourselves in. I hold that to be true. And so I do my best not knowing too much, but the less I know, the more I realize that there is a knowing that comes through. There's a knowing that I hear in my speaking for the first time, sometime when whoever I'm speaking with. So I think there is so much more about what we are than is understandable or than even is knowable. But I like the idea, for me, it's like, let me see, what do I know about what I believe? What do I know about what I know? And what does that leave me with? Where does that take me? What does that give me? And so this is just, in this moment, how this is coming, how I'm speaking this. And I know there is so much more.
Yeah.
There's so much more.
How about those two words that we talked about earlier? Vibration and frequency.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
faith could be frequency.
Yeah.
It is. I would say so.
Yeah.
There's another scripture where Jesus says, basically, unless you become like a child, right? You cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. But think about children. When a child, they're knowing, the saying, ignorance is bliss. So if all they know is, I can remember my son when he was very young, like a baby, and then it was like, okay, we're just gonna let him cry it out in the room, because we're not coming to him every time he cries. He's not just gonna get no juice at 2 a.m. just because he's crying. And it's us against him. And he's just there. He knows he's going to cry until something happens. We hope we can outlast him. We have, or as you would say, we have faith that we're going to outlast him. He knows.
Oh, no.
I would say, yeah, hope, right? Because he just knows it. He knows it. And that is part of that kingdom of heaven, when you just know. And then I think of salespeople who deal with so much rejection. But then what do you do with the rejection? If it doesn't have to discourage you. Some people say, well, I know it's going to take me so many until I win, so every loss is actually getting me closer. So thank you very much for saying no, because I'm closer, because I just know it. And and then it works out. It happens.
You know what children have that maybe we lose? Okay, they don't have not knowing.
It's
They don't
easier.
have-
It's
the-
simpler.
Little kids, they don't think about not knowing. They have no idea. That's why they keep crying.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time. Time is just a construct. I'm going to just cry. I cry, and then here comes the food.
They don't know anything about not knowing. They don't know anything about not. The word not is not, that's not there. That word is not with little kids. That's with adults. When we grow up, so to speak, adults. The word not, and so we have these words like delay, or we didn't have them, delay, or abandon, or rejection, or it's hard. Kids don't have any of that. Little babies don't have any. They learn that. They're socialized into that, but they don't come with that.
And the beauty of it is they can force is not the right word, compel more out of their parents than their parents knew they had.
Oh, yeah, that's
Because
for
when the
sure.
kids like, can I please get the railroad for Christmas? And you're like, no, we're not gonna be able to do it. And they're like, please, I just know Santa's gonna bring me that railroad. And then now, next thing I know, I figure out a way. I have a small miracle. And he's like, yep, I knew it.
But yeah, 'cause you've been encouraged by the kids.
I've been encouraged, yeah.
Encouraged.
Compelled, something inside drawn out. Now, if everything is within, the kingdom of heaven is within everything, all the possibilities. Yeah, encouragement, which can come from ourselves, it can come from someone else, it can come from, insight, whatever. It does give us the knowing. And once we have the knowing, but then what's the relationship between this? When I know it, but I know what I know, and I know what I know, D, then I know what I know, but then it's still.
Well, what I know is so until it's not. Because nothing is fixed and permanent and forever. Everything is vibration, everything is frequency. Nothing is stagnant. Like what I knew last year, I have a transcendent knowing to that knowing. So my knowing is also evolving and expanding and opening. So when I'm attached to what I know, when I'm attached to something, it said this has to be it, or else when I'm attached to it, that's where issues take place. That's where you take position and you square off with yourself and with others. So how attached are you to your idea and your perception, your interpretation of what it is you hold to be true? How open are you in the flow of all things, like the breath? If the breath doesn't snag, if the breath snags, there's a problem. There's a disruption. So perhaps the breath, someone once said, symbolizes the flow of all things, the flow. So how fluid am I in my ideas, my beliefs, my whatever it happens to be? Because when you have opposites, when you have opposing ideas, maybe they're equally true. That's how you see it. This is how I see it. Why do we have to? What is agreeing or disagreeing? It's just how you see it and how I see it. This is how you see it. This is how I see it.
So, if your knowing is not absolute, 100% absolute, let's say it's 95% absolute, wouldn't that be faith?
Not to me.
Well, not to you, but to
Oh yeah.
that would be faith.
So I don't call that. I don't see that as faith. I know what I know. I accept. That's it. But I'm not attached to it.
So what happens when you get to the point of not knowing, and it's a no?
I'm not knowing if someone said, for example, like no.
Yeah, when your knowing becomes no, it's not a knowing anymore. Then where does faith end?
I don't think not knowing I don't think there's such a thing as not knowing. I think I know, or I don't know. I think they're equally true. I know, I don't know.
Okay, so when you don't know, then that's when the faith kind of surfaces.
Well, no. How about being complete with not knowing?
No, but if you really want something and you're not quite sure what's going to happen because you don't know.
Want is an interesting word. What is wanting? What is the consciousness of
Okay, so
wanting?
this is too many words.
No, I hear you, Eric. No, I'm hearing
I'm
you.
staying with Eric. No, I'm staying with Eric. I got Eric.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
This is way too many words.
I'm saying, what is the frequency of wanting? If I'm in want, what is the frequency of being in want?
Well, I think in your knowing, you're saying that whatever you need, whatever you're supposed to have, you already know you have it.
I never, and the word need
So
is
then what are we
interesting.
knowing?
But hold on. The word need is, we could put this on the board. The word need is interesting.
Okay, so then
Because like in a relationship, for example, if you need your partner to be a certain way, you're going to have some problems in a minute.
okay,
If
so
you're
give
coming
us an
from need.
example of knowing. What is it that we know we know?
Well, what do you consider, for example, what is something you accept that you know? And there's not, and there is, you accept, what is it you accept that you know, and there's no opposite to that?
I'm 6'1".
I'm sorry?
6 feet 1 inch. I know that I'm 6'1".
Okay, so what? That you're 6'1". For example,
But
stay with
how
me.
does that
Stay
have-
with me. Stay with
Okay.
me. You're 6'1". That's what's so. Correct?
Mhm.
If you say I'm 6'1" and I know that, that's what's so. Got it. Now, so what?
Okay,
Stay
so
with,
we're-
so stay with this. Stay with this. That's 6'1". Stay with it for a moment. Keep
Okay,
open. Keep
okay.
open. Keep your listening open. This is not a debate with you. This
Okay.
is just an open conversation.
Okay.
So if I say I'm 5'3 3/4, that's what's so. Okay, Clara says she's 5'3 3/4. That's what's so. Wait, stay with it. That's just what's so. So what?
Okay, so then I'm going back to 6:15 when the conversation started about trust and faith and the pineal gland and the third eye. So how does your third eye see something that in your imagination and you know it without having faith? I mean, that's
So
where the
what you
struggle
bring,
seems
what
to
you
be.
bring to it, you consider that you know. There is what's so, and that's what you bring to something, like the pineal gland. There is that. What you bring to it, what are you bringing to that? We're having a multidimensional conversation here. I'm going to just say that.
Right.
So what are you bringing to what you're talking about? What are you bringing to?
Faith?
Okay.
Let me slide an example
Okay,
in.
slide in an example.
I know that an attitude of gratitude makes life better, right? I know that. All right. I have faith in that. I believe in that. I know that. Yep.
According to what was just said, if you know that, then you don't need the faith. 'Cause
No,
you already-
here's why I need it. Because I know that. I know a lot of things. But guess what? I also know that,
Nothing's absolute.
no, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to, but okay. But I was going to say that I know that, let's stick to the gratitude. So I know that an attitude of gratitude, because I've seen it, I've experienced it, people that I trust told me, and I found out for myself. So I know that. There are still, just because I know that, I've known that for at least 20 years. And I can get on an ungrateful wavelength at times, a discouraged wavelength at times. I could wake up first thing in the morning and I'm just like, and I actually have to say, wait a minute, name 10 things you're grateful for right now. And then I start naming them. Why am I naming them? Because I know that it works. So that's the seed. That's the seed. So the seed comes from within me, and I say, okay, well, I'm not in any pain right now, and, this roof ain't leaking, and, I had dinner last night, I got breakfast today, and I'm just one of the most handsome people you're ever going to meet in your life, and all the rest. So now that seed is growing but it came from within me, but I had to have faith that gratitude has a healing property, or gratitude facilitates abundance.
So is this to say that the word gratitude, let's say that's an energy frequency. So are we saying that the energy frequency of the word gratitude serves us, empowers us, strengthens us, anchors us? Because every word you use is talking about something. So when we use the word gratitude, what are we talking about? We're talking about a frequency and energy and answer, something about this word gratitude, something about gratitude, something about that serves me in some way. How does the word gratitude serve you? What comes out of that? What is your relationship to that something that comes with gratitude? That becomes a further conversation. Otherwise, it's just flatline talk. Just a flatline word. The word, what is the life of the word? Like the word you used was dream last week. So what is dream? That's an interesting word. I watched something today on the neuroscience of dreaming. It was about dreaming, the neuroscience of that. And there was so much more has learned about that when you are asleep and when you're awake, it shows that the brain is not asleep, that you're dreaming or actually. So look in Google, neuroscience, the neuroscience of dreaming. And it's very fascinating about the brain activity. The brain actually is dreaming. And so We think the brain sleeps. No, according to all these tests by all these scientists, it does not. So when you use these words like dream, dream is a word, but dreaming, what is that? What is that? So to me, for me, I like a, what is the energy of this word? What does this word activate? What's the frequency of this word? Where does this word take me? How do I walk around inside of this word and bring this word to life, for example? Then I have more insight, you know, I have more insight about what the words that I use. And so, go ahead, Eric.
I was just thinking what Reverend Seth said about he knows that he knows that he knows gratitude, that he knows what it looks like. And I'm just trying to figure out how we took the word gratitude and dissected it to a million little pieces. When I just want to know, how do you know you know you know? And what's
So,
the difference between that
but
and
you know
faith?
what? How may be not a non-conversation?
Okay, in other words.
Yeah, so how it may be a non-conversation? Because it may be like the Nicodemus. How does an old man enter again to his mother's womb and be born again? So it may be a non-conversation, because how it may be like your tail spinning and going no place. But you know, but I prefer the word what. What is, if you would have what is conversation, what would that be?
Well, can we just say that when you know that you know that you know that that maybe is supported or grounded with a little faith?
Well, it could be for you.
Okay,
It could be. Whatever it is for you, that's what something is.
that works for me then.
But what something is for another person may not be the same as what it is for you. Because we're all very different and unique and individualized states of the one. So,
clear
and it's okay. Where you are with whatever, it's perfect. And where another person is with that, it's also perfect. So there's not opposing anything here, because it's all within the one.
I'm hearing, what is the substance of knowing? Might be one way to look at it. So when Jesus says a mustard seed, if you have a watermelon seed, do you have watermelons? I mean, you can make the argument that you don't, or you can make the argument that you do. And what Elliot said about, that's why faith needs some legs under it. So I have watermelon in my hand and the seed, but it requires planting, time, water, etc. But I have it though. Now, if I didn't have the watermelon seed, now I'm just out there. We can develop any sort of a seed, any sort of seed that we can imagine. We can, and we actually do every day, materialize a seed. Even if it's an idea, if it's wouldn't it be nice if it's, I'm going to Alaska next year, if it's whatever. We are starting, and if you have a knowing, even this big. Now I got a knowing, I still gotta, okay, I know everything's gonna be all right. I know my house note for, October is gonna be paid, but that requires something from me at this point.
Yeah, because the whole thing is, if I know something, if I'm in the future, faith is going to be all right. And how is it right now? Is everything all right now, including the way things are and the way things are not?
That's walk by faith, not by sight.
Yeah. So now I'm saying, I believe. To me, that's faith. If I believe something, that's faith. If I'm hoping for something, that's faith. If I'm wishing for something, that's faith. So I have hope, faith, and belief until I know. So those are seeds. Those are seeds to me. Faith, hope, wish, dreaming leads to something's germinating, something's taking place. But the end result of that gives me what? Gives me knowing. Gives me knowing. But now, if I'm attached to whatever it is I know, then that's not the same as knowing. That's attachment. So, so maybe knowing, maybe if I know, I have accepted that, and so it is. Like when we pray, that to me, if I say no, it's like, and so it is. Like God saw, and Jesus said, I have all power in my hand. You take my life, I'll pick it up. Oh grave, where is your victory? Death was your stain. I will rise again. See, to me, that's walking. You can walk in knowing, and you can walk in faith. That's how I have it wired. In this now, never thought about this before, but in this now, how I'm listening is, Am I walking in faith? Am I walking in believing? Am I walking in hoping? Am I walking in dreaming? Am I walking in trusting? Or am I walking in that in the beginning was the knowing when God said, let there be? There wasn't any belief in hoping and wishing and dreaming. It was just what was so. So it was speaking from into expression. Speaking from into expression. And so it's and it has to be without attachment. It has to be without attachment. There's human thing we have going on. There's a thing about attachment. Then I know for sure. But it says faith, the evidence of things not seen, that's where faith comes in. My knowing is also my evidence. My knowing is also my evidence. That's it. Like one more thing, when my grandson was born at 1.5 pounds and his mother's 6-month term, and there was lots of doctor talk. I was in my 2nd year in ministerial school, I think, and I said, no, I'm not having this conversation. My grandson is here. His body is not yet made ready for his arrival. Let's stay in that conversation. I wasn't hoping and wishing and having faith. There was nothing in between what I said. There was nothing in between that. So we stayed with that. We couldn't afford, no. Why would I be in distraction about that? That was like absolute. And so, and when I went there and I met, they said, I want to meet you because you told me you want to hear this doctor. So I said, no, the vibration is too low. He is here. You better know he is here. You're talking about the physicality. I'm talking about his presence. So I'm just saying that's and sometimes you go in and out of that because you have your human factor. You go in and out of your faith. You go in and out. You go in and out. But you come back to, what do you come back to? That's why meditation is so important. Stillness is so important. You got to come back to something, that grounding, the inner grounding. And so this conversation is not like informational, that we're sharing with each other. We're just talking out loud, seeing where it takes us and what comes out of this.
Go ahead, Elliot.
One last thing from me. I was thinking about that song we used to sing at the end of every service. It's already done.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you've been asking the Lord to do, it's already done.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that is faith, reminding ourselves to vibrate at a higher level or whatever, that is, I think, faith.
Well, yeah, if it's already done.
Faith in knowing.
Well, yeah, if it's already done, then maybe that's what I accept that it's already done. Maybe if it's already done, if I consider it's already done, and I accept that it's already done, that's the ultimate. If I accept that it's already done. If I don't accept that it's already done, then I'm still in process of faith and believing and hoping and praying and all of that. But once it's already, like for real, like, do I accept that my husband loves me for real? I better. Exactly. It's done. Yeah, yeah. Gene and D. Walker?
Yeah, as we wrap up for this evening. Gene or Dee, do you have any final comments as we're wrapping up on Zoom?
Well, I can only speak to myself, or for myself, I'll put it that way. And I'm left with, you don't know what you know until it presents itself to you.
Ashe.
And when I look at grateful and gratitude, I am grateful for a lot of things, but gratitude puts me in action. And
Ashe.
thanks for tonight.
Miss Jean?
What was coming to me was, I think somebody said it too, was this feels like a process, belief, trust, and knowing. Sometimes that's how it is for me, um, and imagination. So, and then there are moments when I know, and I don't know how I know. So I think the beauty of it is it's a part of the journey of being spirit on earth in form. And, perhaps we are here like when you go to Disneyland, you go to have an experience, it's not 100% real, but it's fun. So all of these stages, and sometimes there's no stage, you just pop into your knowing, or something is revealed to you. It's all just a part of this journey. And that's what came to me in the conversation, Ashe.
Ashe. Linda?
Um, what I got out of it is that we're all creative, unique individuals receiving unique information and direction. And it'll manifest, because all of your great inventors have it manifested from their unique thoughts. So all of the inventors believe that it will be. So I think we're all creative individuals that will manifest certain things will manifest from what the knowledge that we're receiving from the universe. That's my take on it. And we're knowing that it's going to take place, and it does. Just like airplanes, like the Wright brothers flying an airplane. I'm sure everybody thought, well, they're crazy, but the knowing from the universe is allowed it to manifest it. Ashe.
Ashe.
What I got this evening was what you talked about in process. And we were talking about faith, hoping, wishing. So it relieved me because I go through some of those stages instead of just being certain. And so this conversation makes me know I'm in process. I'm a human and I'm doing my own thing. God has given me this individualized spirit. However, I have to do it my way, and it's okay. So this is really good for me because it makes me feel, sometimes you get into situations or circumstances in your life and you think, oh, wow, I'm not really reacting to this the way I should, the way I know I should. And that's just that human ego thing that I think that I must be a certain way all the time. Just speaking in this conversation makes me feel a whole lot lighter, a whole lot better. Ashe.
Ashe. And the young lady in the back here.
I'm working on it. I'm still seeing, I see what you know. But I still think that there is some evidence of faith behind what we know. And I'm processing that.
Ashe.
I guess I'm in this conversation, I'm realizing how much I absorb like imagery, like I'm seeing like the legs. I think you said something about the legs, or you said something about the legs of faith, or something's on the heels of something. And I'm just seeing, for me, belief and trust are the legs of faith. And I know they're just words, but it's just, I never really thought about faith that way, and how it explores, and kind of what you were saying of like, there's a knowing and then having a trust and belief that leads to more knowing. I don't know, something I can't really articulate, but something, yeah. I'm hearing it and I'm appreciating it, and I'm just imagining the legs, this little faith body walking on 2 legs of belief and trust. And also what you just said about digging, like planting a seed and then just meddling with it. Those are my words, but I do that a lot, and just let it be and do its thing because it's already done. That resonated, so thank you for that.
When she
Ashe?
said, "Let it be," I thought about the Beatles. Let it be, let it be. What was it? I was just going to say this last thing. I think it was Emerson who said, "Do the work, and you'll have the power." I said it a little bit different. I said, "Do the work, and you'll discover that the power is already within you." You know, the work is internal. You got to put feet under anything. Got to do the work. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
All I was gonna say, is that attachment. How can you have a total knowing of something but not be attached to it? But see, the word attach implies to, because something attached to something else, which is not the same as a full integrated knowing. We got that full integrated knowing. I don't have to keep looking back at my toes to see if they're there or not. I let it go. I don't even think about them because of the integration. So if you're attached to something, I'm attached to the idea of winning the lottery, then I'm attached. But you cannot hold on to something in this vibrational universe in that way. You can become something. That word attached just hit me. Ashe.
Yeah, because we'll talk more about that word attachment next time, because that's an interesting word, the word attachment. Because, yeah. Yeah. All right,
Okay.
we're blessing ourselves out. We're blessing ourselves out. Okay.
All good. We'll see you
Glad you're
again, we
here.
hope. Thank you.
See you on Sunday then, maybe, perhaps. We're wonderful.
All right, take care. All right. But yeah, sincerely grateful for everybody this evening. Thank you. And let us continue to walk in the knowing and in greater and greater knowing. Amen. Ashe.
Amen.
Bada
Ashe.
bing.
So should we order a little pizza next week? I didn't order it this week. You guys would like to have pizza? You gonna stay for pizza next week? Oh, well, look at you. Well, look at you. You know, going someplace, being someplace else. See, I'm not attached to him being here though. Hey, see, wait a minute. You're gonna be away for the next 2 weeks. I'm not attached. I'm blessing you. I'm blessing. Oops. No pizza? Okay. Okay, yeah.
Shoot.
I,
You're in? Okay.
we'll do what?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, these two chairs were. I think they're in that corner. Okay, you dropped that. Yeah, man, enjoy.
That's real. That's real.
It was deep.
This is your style. This is her style. And I love that. You said, can I get a word in?